Alright, I'm fresh from the theater, I'm still angry, and I'm ready to talk about the worst movie I've ever seen. Tonight was $5 movie night, so me and two friends decided to go to the movie theater to see Slender Man. And there's already a lot wrong with that statement, but I'm just going to continue because you're here. So, I wasn't expecting much, right? Like, I've seen a lot of bad movies. I've seen a lot of bad adaptations of games. I've seen a lot of garbage, right? So, even going into this movie, I saw Critical's review of it, and I saw that he had nothing positive to say. But going into the theater, I thought to myself, well, there's probably something that isn't bad about this movie. And let me just tell you, that's a lie. So, the movie starts out with these super edgy, relatable teens having a totally teen conversation. One of them looks 20, but that doesn't matter, I guess. So they're all, doing what teens do. Actually, it starts on the bleachers, and the one of them stroking the other's hair. I don't think that was ever explained, actually. But anyway. So it's these 14 girls, and they're talking to each other, and they're like, oh, let's go over to... I forget her name. Katie? I think Katie. Let's all go over to Katie's house because for some reason. So they all get there and they open the door and the drunk dad's asleep on the couch. So okay, let's go downstairs. So they start watching porn. And I know that sounds like me trying to make this bad movie sound worse, but I swear on my life that was the next scene. So they're watching porn together and somehow this wonderful video transitions into them wondering about Slender Man. So they go onto this horrible looking wiki page and they click this great link that says, I think it's like summon Slender Man or something. So they do it, and it's just a stupid video. It's a black screen with scrolling text. It's like, oh, close your eyes, and when the bell rings, you open them, whatever. So at this point, no one's invested. There were a lot of people in the theater, but my theory is that it was $5 movie night and people wanted to laugh. At least that's what I hope. So anyway, they summon Slender Man and nothing happens. And they're all kind of like laughing at each other. And, whatever happens, they go to a graveyard for some reason on a school field trip. And, one of them's looking into the forest and bam, she's gone. What's going to happen? Afterwards, one of her friends complains that her disappearing is the reason why they're still there, and she just wants to go home because she apparently doesn't care that her friend's gone. So, about 22 minutes after she's been missing, they send in the whole goddamn police force to find her, which is, a really accurate representation of what would happen 22 minutes after someone supposedly went missing. Like, they wouldn't look for her or anything. So, they don't find her, whatever. They go home. And, like, similar stuff just happens over and over. Like, one of the so they went into the girl's room. They found a laptop that apparently the police didn't find when they searched her room, which is ridiculous, but anyway. They find it, and, they found out that she's researching Slender Man. No shit. So, they talk to some girl. I forget her name. Alina? I don't think it was Alina, but we'll just call her Alina. So they talk to her, and she's like, you have to sacrifice something you love. So they're like, all right, great. So one of them brings a blanket, like a knit blanket, that has some significance. I don't know. I don't care. The other one brings, what was it? Like a picture of her and her dad that died, and the other one's, I have no idea what the other one brought. But anyway, they sacrifice these things, whatever. And then afterwards, they put on the blindfolds, and the girl with the straight hair that I honestly don't remember the name of says, all right, guys, don't take off your blindfolds. And immediately, the girl on the far right takes her blindfold off a little bit to look and puts it back on. So, okay. So they hear a noise. Girl rips off her blindfold and starts running towards it. So, I'm sorry, I'm just angry. Like, there was no redeeming quality. I'll just continue with the plot and then I'll complain. So, she gets abducted, whatever. Or wait, no, she doesn't. She just gets screwed up by him, I guess. And then there's a scene in the library where the other girl's looking for information and he follows her around the books. Great, whatever. and then I don't know if it was the final one or not. It might be after the library, but anyway, afterwards she meets up with the girl who had a date, but the girl with the date is unwilling to stay because apparently her brand new boyfriend is more important than finding her 2 missing friends. So she goes over to his place, and they're, vacuuming on the couch, real hot, and all of a sudden his face turns into, like, the worst CG I've ever seen, and it's just a bunch of, like, bad jump cuts. That was, like, such a common theme with the whole thing. The very beginning was just, like, this epileptic, like, fast cut between different, like, photos and stuff. Like, I don't care. It wasn't scary. I wasn't unsettled. The most emotions I had during this entire movie were just laughter. Like, I found it funny. I thought it was funny about how bad it was. And then the final scene, she gets, like, she's dreaming, and she gets, like, pregnant with slender tendrils or some shit. I don't even know. It was really hard to follow. But they finish it, and they cut to this stupid news story about this guy, like, talking about how Slenderman takes his victims or whatever. So, the movie's over. It dragged on so much. Like, I swore I was there for 5 years. Let me look up the running time, actually. Okay, it was 1 hour and 31 minutes. Great. And it also has 1.5 stars on IMDb. 1 hour and a half. And it felt like at least 3. Like, at the very least, I felt like I was there for 3 hours. So, some of my main complaints, I guess, there were jump scares in it, which is obviously a cheap way to scare people, but they weren't scary. They were poorly timed. You heard them coming before they ended up happening. Like, it just wasn't scary. And, like, I understand that they tried to be scary, but it seriously seemed just like someone's first film project. Like, they learned how to use jump cuts and bad music for the first time, and they're like, alright, I'm putting this in theaters. And, okay, so the last thing is, like, I'm sorry I'm at a loss for words, but there's just nothing positive for me to say about this. It was just so bad. Like, seriously, don't watch it. Just torrent it. If you really want to torture yourself, don't pay them the money. I only went because it was $5 and I wanted to complain early. But, so my final complaint, out of many, is that you did not sympathize to these characters. They did not expand on any of their personalities. They all seemed like the same person with a different appearance. And I mean that honestly. Like, they didn't have different personalities. Like, the most that changed was one of them was kind of sympathetic, and the other one kind of wasn't, and that was it. They didn't go into their lives, and there was no motivation for the audience to feel upset or scared when they got into a bad situation. Because half of the appeal of horror movies is that you don't want these things to happen to the characters. But halfway through, it was just so dull, and, like, I didn't care at all, that I was hoping something would happen to them. Like, I don't know. I just didn't care about it. It was honestly the worst movie I've ever seen. I've watched The Room. I've watched Creepy Doll. I've watched so many more bad movies that I can't even get into right now. But it's the worst movie I've ever seen. Don't watch it. On the bad scale, I give it a 100 because it was horrible. Thanks for watching. Good night.